all of the preparation leading up to my wedding, things were getting done, and on the day my last night in the house, my sister was coming to pick me up, and my parents were going to church, and they gave me a hug, and my dad gave me a really long hug, as if he was saying, like, I know you're not going to be back. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are returning and have watched my Get to Know Me tag, thank you so much. I am so appreciative of all the comments, all the subscribers, all the shares and all the likes. Thank you guys so much. This video is basically going to be about how I met my husband and our journey from dating to marriage to baby. Okay, so I met my husband through my mum, basically. My husband is a minister and he travels the world. He was saved at the age of 15. So his life is pretty much epic. When I met him, I always used to say, your life is crazy. You should turn it into a movie. You should write a book, you know, because it was so like, it was like a movie. And I used to say that to him all the time. And he was saved in such a great way. I mean, he has such a great testimony. And I remember even before meeting him, I would pray and I would say to God, give me such a great testimony that when people meet me, that when men see my life, they know that I was transformed and changed by Jesus Christ and that he's real. I really wanted a testimony like that because to me, my life was boring. Now, I was saved when I was 7 years old. I started going to church when I was 7. I got baptized at the age of 9 and I was filled with the Holy Ghost at the age of 10. And ever since then, I love Jesus Christ. Never stopped serving him and I've been in church ever since. Who just wants to be born into church? No, you want to be saved. You want to have that epic story so you can say, guys, look at what Jesus has done in and for me. Kind of prayed that prayer. Little did I know that that's not the prayer you want. If you were born into church, that is sweet. That is just sweet because, listen. And so when I prayed that prayer, my husband came along. And I met him back in 2013 when my mum started going to his school, his prophetic training school called RIG. And I saw this email from RIG and I was like, what the heck? Literally just deleted it and then got home and I was just like, who are these people trying to invite me to RIG? Sitting down at dinner with my parents and we're eating, well, my family were eating, and I get a phone call. I answer the phone and it's my husband's then assistant asking me if I'm coming to like the, what do you call it? Like introduction kind of thing. Introduction? It's induction, that's it. In my head, I'm just like, oh, what the heck? No, I ain't coming. I got dance. I'm not missing dance. I loved my dance. I was not giving that up. My mum's like, who's that? Who's that? All in the background looking at me like, who's that? Who's that? And I'm just like, wait, man, I'll tell you in a minute. She ended up going by herself because, like I said before, I had done. She would come back with these great like stories like, oh my gosh, it was amazing. He taught on this, he taught on that, he taught on this, he taught on that. It got to a point where she came back talking about this RIG school every single Saturday without fail, non-stop for the whole Saturday and Sunday, that we were basically like, Mum, you're not allowed to talk about RIG anymore. My sister that put a ban on my husband's name, told me around me, she was like, you're not allowed to say this name in the house again. It wasn't even my dad. Like, you would expect my dad to be like, hold on, who's this guy that you're overly talking about? She convinced my dad to start going. You can tell my dad loves my mum because my mum convinced him to go on their anniversary. And my dad ended up loving it. My dad becomes really close to him now, and one day they bring this guy home. Like literally, he comes back to my house and then he never left. I remember it like it was yesterday. We had just had 3 foster kids move out of our house, so there was a spare room. And my husband moved sorry, not moved, he had split up with his then fiance. I don't think he had anywhere to stay, so my mum said, you can stay with us for a while. I got a spare room because obviously the foster kids had just moved out. Like, he's doing his thing. He's obviously just broken up with his then fiance. He's a bit sad, dealing with, you know, however any normal person deals with a breakup. Yeah, we became really good friends. I don't know how I started talking to him. My mum had asked him to mentor me. I think during mentorship and then after, we would just talk, and that's how our friendship really began. I remember just one day, I think he had told my mum that he had liked someone, and my mum thought it was my older sister. My husband had a type back then. It wasn't me. But yeah, my mum was like, yeah, she's your type, talking about my sister. And my husband was just like, I think this is what was going on, because I was hearing conversation in the house, and I was just like, what the hell are they talking about? He was just like, no, it's not. He just kept saying, no, it's not her, no, it's not her, no, it's not her. And my mum was like, what's happened to me? Fast forward now to when his brother actually told me that he liked me. He was being so dodgy one day, and his brother was like, I need to tell you something. And I had a feeling this is what he was going to tell me, but I didn't want to like toot my own horn kind of thing. Basically, my brother likes you. How do you feel about it? And straight away I was just like, oh my gosh, this is going to be awkward. But in my head I was grinning away. And I remember going to bed that night with butterflies, that my stomach was turning. I was just like, hell no. Joking. I don't know, I was nervous. I was just like I said before, in the Get to Know Me video, I hadn't had a proper relationship show, so I didn't know what it entailed. Like, I didn't know what to do. I was an amateur. I thought I was ready for this, but am I really ready for this? And so I remember when he had told my mum had told him, and when he knew it was getting serious, because he had spoken to Dr. Sharon, his spiritual mum, which is now my spiritual mum at the time, and I think she said, like, hey, go for it, see where it leads. I'm not too sure what they said in the conversation because I wasn't there, but all I know is that probably a couple of weeks later, they had, my husband, my mum and my brother had gone to Scotland because my husband was preaching, and my mum and my brother was accompanying him, and it was just me, my dad and my youngest brother in the house. My dad had spoken to me one night and he was just like, do you like him? And I was just like, I don't know where I want this to go. Right now I'm liking him as Tomes, like as my friend. My dad was just like, cool, like however you feel, kind of let him know ASAP. My dad was like, my dad's exact words were, don't dangle the carrot. So don't lead him on. You're spending a lot of time with him, and spending a lot of time with him can like conjure up feelings. And I was like, cool, totally understand you. We hugged and we went to bed. We were talking, and my parents were getting a bit agitated because they saw a relationship kind of blossoming, and then they realized, no, this is not what we want, not what I want, it was not what they wanted. And so they were just like, you basically need to stop talking to him. My parents had specifically asked him not to communicate with me at all, and he did stop communicating with me. Out of all honesty, he cut relationship like bam wham that day, and I was so stunned because I was like, how is it physically possible for you to do that? Because I had feelings, so surely he had feelings. Going from a place where we talked every single day to no talking at all, like, it was wrecking my brain. I knew I was whipped since then. I text him, hey, hi, hello, what are you doing? Hey, you know, one of those annoying little, hey, hello. And he wouldn't respond. And I was trying to get a response out of him, and he stuck true to his word. He didn't respond to me. And my parents thought he was still communicating with me. And so they went to his flat that he moved to. And they were just like, we heard that you're still talking to Tahmar, blah, blah, blah. take back your church. When Tommy had moved into my house, he was then training my parents to become pastors, and a church was birthed out of the relationship. I'm not too sure how, but my parents did start pastoring a church. Tony was mentoring them to become pastors. They were ordained at the same time that we all graduated from the Rick School. But they were like, take back your church. We don't want it. We don't want there to be anything. We don't want to have anything to do with you now because you didn't honor our wish. And my husband, this is like all what I got from him and from them. So my husband said, I don't know what you're talking about. I have stopped talking to your daughter. Like, what's going on? And they were like, oh, we didn't know. Sorry. Backpedaled. Tommy was like, I'm gonna tender your resignation because the church is valuable to me and I don't want you to use it as leverage to try and get me to do what you want me to do. So he said, I'll take the church back for now and then we'll look at restoration. And my mum was good with that. I think my dad more so didn't want that. He was like, what do you mean restoration? Like, just give us back the church. We're not going to sit on the bench and then be worked back up to pastors. Let us just resume our roles. Tommy was adamant that he's not giving them back the church. So my dad was like, we're not coming back to the church. He told us all that we're not allowed to go back to the church. And I was like, this is who I am. This is where I'm supposed to be. These are my people. Where have they been all my life? I had prayed that prayer for years since I was a kid. Show me my calling, show me my purpose. And finally, I knew it. You want to take it away from me? No. So I was like, you guys can stop going to the church, but I'm not. And my dad was like, we're all going to stop going to church because you live under my roof. And as long as you live under my roof, you're going to do what I tell you to do. For a few weeks, I didn't go to the church. And then I was friends with some of the people that still went to the church. And one day I was like, I'm coming to the church, I'm coming. And she was like, yeah, sure, by all means you can come. But she didn't tell me where it was because during all of that time, my parents had been taking my phone away. They had been reading my messages. They had been taking the computer out of the living room so I couldn't talk to Tommy. I woke up that morning, got ready, they were like, where are you going? I was at church. And that day was a terrible day. Like, I left and my dad had shouted at me before I went, if you leave this house, you're not coming back, blah, blah, blah. And I left so boldly, but so scared. And all I know is that my sister and my brother, my dad said, follow her. That's the last thing I heard when I left the house. And my sister and my brother jumped in the car and they drove down. They followed, like, literally, they weren't following me. They were trying to get me back into the house. But I ran to the bus stop. Thank the Lord Jesus Christ that the bus was there when I got there, because I jumped on and I tapped my oyster. As long as I get down into that tube station and get on the tube was there as well. I was like, sweet mate. And I'm in church. I'm starting to get better, starting to feel better. Who do I see? I see my family storm in to the church. Bruh, I don't know what happened, but I'm telling you, this was a movie. And after I prayed that prayer about having a testimony to tell and telling my husband that his life was like a movie, it all flipped and it was like, this is your movie now. My brother stormed into that church while other family members were shouting and cussing, and he grabbed me. He dragged me out of that church, pushed me down the stairs, and that's it. I wasn't allowed back to church. All I know is I say to my dad, I'm leaving. And he was like, you're not going nowhere. Shouting at me again. Like, it got deep. To the point where my mum was like, stop. And then I left the house. I knew this is what I wanted to do. This is who I wanted to be with. And I remember just going back and visiting my parents and saying, look, I've made my decision to be in a relationship with this guy. This is what I'm going to be doing. You guys have to let me know where you stand from here. And they were just like, okay, we're going to release you to do what you want to do, but we're not in support of it. Just know that. And we'll never be in support of it. I got engaged on the 5th of August 2014. And it was such a like bittersweet moment, because I was so happy, elated. But the first person you want to tell is your mom, your sisters. And I was like, dun dun dun, this is gonna spark something again. And I remember going home, took the ring off my finger, put the ring back in the box, and I went back to my parents and I showed my mum the ring first, and she was like, what's this? And I was like, Tommy proposed. And she was like, well, I hope you're not gonna say yes. And I was just like, went and told my dad that Tommy proposed, and he was just like, not a fan of it, not happy, blah blah blah, as you do. So I left discouraged, and then I posted a picture on Facebook, and I'm just like, got engaged, so happy, so in love. Got the most terrible comment on my picture. You know, when you think, if this is of God, like, why does the enemy want so badly to tear it apart? But then you can flip it and say that all those signs were just God telling you that it's not meant to be. So I really had to learn to hear God for myself during that time and make my own decision. And we got married on April the 18th. It was a small wedding. My parents didn't come. They knew I was getting married because, like, all of the preparation leading up to my wedding, things were getting done, and on the day my last night in the house, my sister was coming to pick me up, and my parents were going to church, and they gave me a hug, and my dad gave me a really long hug, as if he was saying, like, I know you're not going to be back here anymore. And so they knew, like, I was getting married, and they knew that they weren't coming. And I knew that they weren't coming. And then my sister, she was staying at the house, I think, at the time. And my other sister had come to pick me up because I went to stay at her house the night before the wedding, so she could take me to the venue. And my sister said, we were all talking, we were happy, and my sister said to me, you're not going to give me a hug then? And then I said, oh yeah, and I was smiling, and I gave her a hug, and it was like, this is it, this is real. You're basically never going to live in this house again. After tomorrow, you're going to be a married woman, and you're going to be with this guy forever. So they knew that I was getting married, and I didn't share with them the location of the wedding, because I wanted to know that they were coming, and they were coming because they wanted to support me, just me. Even if they didn't like Tommy, I wanted to know they were coming to support me and not cause trouble, because obviously we had experienced the church scene, and we didn't want another episode on that, on one of what is meant to be one of the best and most special days of our lives. And so I said to them, like, if you guys want to come, let me know, and I'll send you the details. But no, I didn't hear from anyone, so I knew they weren't coming, and we got married. Very beautiful hotel, very beautiful venue, but very small. I loved the wedding just as much as it would have, as if it was a massive wedding. But you know, every girl wants her dream wedding, and I mean, I'm not gonna say I am a dad's girl, and I dreamed of the day that my dad would walk me down. I dreamed of it, and I dreamed of the time we would have our first dance, because I knew what song I wanted to dance to, and it was hard walking down the aisle because I was so happy, and I knew like this is the guy I want to spend the rest of my life with, but I wasn't walking down the aisle with the man I wanted to give me away and say, well done, I'm proud of you. And me and my dad were so close. Me and my dad, we were like dessert fiends as well. So after dinner, I'd be like, cake and custard, and he'd be like, cake and custard, you making it? And I'd make it. And I'd just make it for me and him. And sometimes my mum would have it, well, not all the time. My youngest brother would be in bed, and my other brother, the one that is 10 months apart from me, he was so antisocial, he was always in his room. So it was just me and my dad against the world. Gosh, not having them there, not seeing not one of them in that hall was difficult. I mean, my sister, thank God for her, because I don't know how I would have done it with none of them there, but thank God for just one of them, and I will always be grateful for her for everything she done for me. I mean, she doesn't know how much that meant to me. She doesn't know how much she means to me for doing that. I mean, even when growing up with her, we were like two peas in a pod, so simply to just have her there, it meant the entire world. Marriage for me was a goal in life. It might not be for other people, but I always wanted to get married. Like I said, I dreamed of the day. Marriage for me was a goal, and when I got married and I didn't have my parents there, dreams shattered. Having children for me was a goal, and finding out I was pregnant, I was elated. Thinking, who can I tell? Deflated. And for a week, I put off telling my parents, and then I told them finally. And stop crying, he doesn't know what to say. So basically, he didn't know how to feel about it. My mum said, okay honey. Fast forward to a week later, I'm at work and my dad calls me. And I answer, and he says that he wants to meet with me and my husband. Now, this was a breakthrough. Just the meeting, I didn't know what he wanted to say, but the meeting alone to be held was a breakthrough, because my dad, I remember having a conversation with him earlier on that it's never going to change. My mum and him will never accept him over my dead body. If my dad was homeless and Tommy was a millionaire and he was the last man on earth and he could help him out, he wouldn't do it. Like, my dad was adamant that it was the way it is and it wasn't going to change. And I mean, I believed, I had faith, I prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed. I went home and I told Tommy and I was so excited, and of course I'm excited, but Tommy's happy, but he's being very practical, and he's not trying to get his hopes too high. And we had literally been in Scotland, seen the new year in, and we had wrote down on a piece of paper everything we wanted God to do for us in 2017, and that was one of the things. And I found out that I was pregnant on my husband's birthday, 30th birthday, so January 7th, and my husband had wanted to start a fast on January 10th, so I couldn't fast with him, but he did go and do a 40-day fast. And 10 days into the fast, on January 20th, that's when we met with my parents. And they had said that like they want to put everything behind them. I was having a baby, and it's not the baby why they want to reconcile, but they do. And everybody said their piece during the meeting. Everybody said sorry for the offences that they may have caused and for what they done, and the things that they could have done better, because I believe we all responded in ways that we shouldn't have, because we were all in it and our emotions were really heightened, and it was such an intense situation and time of our lives that we all acted out of character. So on my 21st birthday, my dad was there and he was giving a speech, and he just apologised for not being at my wedding. And my husband proposed again, and he said that he would love to do it again with everybody there, so we're still working that out. So fast forward to this day where now we have the baby and everybody's working in tandem. The point of this conversation was just to let you know a little bit about me, where I came from, and my marriage today. I do want to say, be encouraged. Like, prayer works. Be encouraged. Don't stop praying those prayers. Don't stop dreaming those dreams. Don't stop believing, because every prayer you send up to God, He's hearing you. I hope this story has blessed you. I tried to be as sensitive as possible. I mean, guys, it was deep. It was hella deep. I mean, I think I haven't shared half as much of what went on, but it was deep. It was movie deep. Yeah. Please guys, stay tuned. Thank you for watching. Like I said before, like, comment, subscribe, guys. Share this video with your friends, your family, and let them know about Tahmar India. If you again are new, please go and watch the Get to Know Me tag and get to know me. Stay tuned. Like I said, guys, I love you in advance. I love you all. Thank you so much for watching this to the end, because I know I can yap. And I look forward to giving you lots of more lovely videos to come. Stay blessed, guys. Bye bye.